Major League Baseball season may soon be here if they can work out the details, of course. I cannot wait to possibly witness some great pitching performances and view some clutch hitting delivered by some of the best athletes in the world, I believe. However, if we were to go back just a few years, the setting for all of these major leaguers would be much different. Every one of these players would not be playing in multi-million-dollar stadiums in front of thousands of screaming fans, but someplace much different. Every one of these professionals would be playing on a small, out-of-the-way field, shoulder to shoulder with fellow youngsters in some 6 to 8 team league in a town ranging from the Dominican to Japan, from Alaska to Texas to Florida. Another difference would be the kind of individuals who are surrounding these baseball players. The players playing on these fields will not have a personal trainer or a sports agent constantly guiding their every step. No, they will have either a volunteer of some kind helping them, a volunteer dad, a volunteer mom, a volunteer grandma or grandpa, teaching them the game. Every time I see those Major League Baseball uniforms, it reminds me of a story of one of those volunteers that took time out of his day to invest in one of those little players. Every little boy and every little girl needs people in their lives who will share with them their love of the game. So many years ago, there was a little boy who had a grandpa. And most every day, that grandpa would take time out to invest in this little boy. He spent a lot of time with this little boy. He would go on walks. He would talk with him. And when they would go on these neighborhood walks, sometimes they would stretch it out and go all the way into town. And then once they're in town, they would stop at the drugstore and get a Coke. And he continued to invest in this little boy's life. He would talk of many things on the way into town and back. He would talk of what it was like when he was a little boy, what it was like when he was a young man, when he was a dad, when he was a farmer in the hills of his home state. He would talk with him about his dreams when he was young, what he loved to do, and he would talk to him about his favorite sports. And one sport in particular, this grandpa would share with this little boy. And this little boy would just sit on the edge of his seat, just eager to hear about this sport. And this sport was the game of baseball. And he would tell him about some of the best players in the game. And he would talk to him about pitchers like Sandy Koufax and Satchel Paige, like Bob Feller and Bob Gibson. Really, really good hitters. He would talk to them about Stan Musial and Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays. And he would tell this little boy all about baseball and how much he enjoyed it and he loved it. But not only would he tell him about the game of baseball, he'd say, well, let's go play. And so sure enough, they'd walk over to the little boy's yard and he would pitch to him. And the little boy would stand in the box and the grandpa would stand out on the mound and he would pitch to that little boy and the boy would whack the ball. And the boy would take off running to first base and then to second base. And so the grandpa would then turn, and as he was getting older and older, he would turn and walk towards the ball. And by the time he would pick the ball up and turn and walk and return to the mound, that little boy will have tagged second, will have tagged third, and had tagged home, and he'd pick up that bat, and he'd be ready to hit again just when the grandpa would reach the mound, and he would pitch again, and he'd do that over and over again. Not only with that little boy, the little boy had a brother that would get out there with him as well, and they would both run the bases. The grandpa loved all of his grandchildren and spent time with all of them. And so as this little boy continued to grow and went into his elementary years, he got better and better in the game of baseball. He got bigger and stronger and continued to hit the ball and throw the ball. And each year, of course, the grandpa was getting older and older. And by the time he got to junior high, the little boy was now much bigger and could hit so much further and throw so much harder that the grandpa would just watch the games and cheer him on. And sure enough, he got better and better in the game of baseball. And it progressed to where his senior year in high school, he got so good to where calls started happening from colleges that said, we want you to come and play baseball for us. And so he went down to his grandpa, who now was much older then, couldn't see very well, couldn't hear very well, and obviously couldn't move very well. And he said, Grandpa, I'm going off to college to play Division I college baseball. And so the grandpa would just smile, and oftentimes that little boy would wonder, what was his grandpa thinking? Going from the front yard pitching to him to now playing college baseball. As he went off to baseball, every weekend the little boy would call home and he would say, make sure you tell Grandpa this, that I hit a home run today. Or make sure you tell Grandpa this, yeah, I struck out today with runners on second and third, but it's okay, I'll get them tomorrow. And each day every weekend he would check in with his mom and dad and he'd say, make sure you tell Grandpa. Make sure you tell Grandpa how I'm doing. And so his freshman year went by, his sophomore year, and his junior year, and he continued to get better and better in the game of baseball. And he wasn't a little boy anymore. He was a man. He could run fast. He could hit. He could throw. And sure enough, as he flew home one summer, getting ready for summer ball to start, on June 10th, he was sitting by his phone, and the phone rang, and the little boy picked up the phone and on the other line said, hello, this is the professional baseball team, the Philadelphia Phillies, and you are our 14th pick. We would like you to leave college and to join our minor league system in hopes of someday playing in the big leagues. And so the little boy, who now his grandpa was downstairs and had a hard time moving, and so spent much of his time sitting and rocking. He went downstairs and he said, Grandpa, I've been drafted by a professional baseball team, and they want me to go now to play, or I could go back to college. And what should I do? And so the grandpa said, college will wait if you want to play professionally, if you want to give this a try. Of all those hopes and dreams that you thought about, give it a try, young man. And so sure enough, he signed the contract, flew off to Bend, Oregon, started his professional baseball career. But little did he know when he stepped onto that plane that his time with his grandpa would change from that point on. As he was playing in the minor leagues in Bend, Oregon, day in and day out, one day after batting practice, deep into the season, getting ready for the game to start, he was sitting by his locker, and someone stepped in and handed this little boy a telegram. And the telegram went like this. Max, your grandpa has passed away today. Don't worry. He's in good hands. He's in a better place. He's with the Lord. Continue to play like you used to play all those years ago in the front yard with Granddaddy. He would have wanted it that way. Love, Mom. So as soon as I hear the sights and sounds associated with the game of baseball, I'm always reminded of my grandpa and our time together. Those memories are like gold to me. I needed a teacher not only to teach me the game of baseball, but I needed someone to also teach me about the game of life. Do you have such a teacher in your life? Do you have someone who is still pouring into your life, walking after the ball while you run the bases? Are you listening and learning, knowing that those moments will not last forever? Or now, are you in a position to be the teacher yourself, to be the grandpa, to be the volunteer coach? If you are you willing to give of yourself and walk after the ball while others run the bases? You know, the lineup is set. The weather's good. The game is on as scheduled. The umpire is ready to start the game. Are you ready? You're up. May you make a difference in another's life as my grandpa did in mine.